and I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, Oregon. Hello, America. Hey, Coos County and well beyond. Today, I got a special guest for you. I did an interview last week, and it turned out to be really good. I've did several interviews over the last month or so that I think you really should check out if you haven't seen them. There was one that I did with this gentleman by the name of Jerry Lehman. He is from the New England's Fishermen's Stewardship Association, and he was talking about the wind turbines that are being constructed on the East Coast. Thanks to our president, we were spared from the misery of the wind turbine project that they wanted to do off the coast of Coos Bay and Brookings. It was just a horrible, horrible idea. I'm glad that the president rescinded all that garbage. He got rid of the wind energy areas. But Jerry Lehman, he's an incredibly knowledgeable man, and I recommend you go check out that video because it's something that we need to be prepared for, because just like the band in Marsh, these people never quit. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service hasn't gone away. They're still looking to take whatever they can up at the Bandon Marsh. It's a sad thing. They get paid to sit there like vultures waiting for any willing property that some willing seller wants to sell to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to do that. They've been looking to get those farms out of the hands of those families for a long time. Well, it's the same thing with the wind turbines. We got to keep an eye on this. We got to keep an eye on all of these crazy, wild-haired projects that our bureaucrats just come up with willy-nilly. And if any of these things were good projects, then the free market would already be doing it. The free market would say, wow, we can make money at this, we're going to do it. They would already be doing it. So that's why most of the time, if government has to pay for it, it's a bad idea. So Jerry Lehman, check it out on Rumble, from the New England's Fishermen's Stewardship Association. And then the other one I did was with Kathleen Marquardt from the American Policy Center. And we talked about globalism and how it goes all the way down into your child's classroom. And we discuss how this is impacting people across the nation and how families can fight against this. And that was another good show. If you want to check it out, that's also on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Please share and like all those things. Twitter, I shouldn't say Twitter. It's X. It's X. And Wednesday, if you happen to be out and about in Bandon, we're going to be doing a pop-up booth, a signature booth for 3 different petitions. We've got 3 different petitions that we've been circulating out there. Let me see if I can find the websites for some of these. And there's all my rude comments I was making to the people at the legislature. And I'm not going to go into that too much. It was like watching a train wreck, the special session. We already knew we were going to get screwed at the end of the session. No matter what, we were going to get screwed, no matter how many people showed up, no matter how many people commented. I mean, other than nearly a damn near riot happening and Salem burning down to cinders, I really don't know what would stop these people from stealing our money. And not that I'm asking for that to occur. I'm just saying I really don't know what would stop these people short of revolution. So one of the things that we're looking to do is get several petitions signed, and we're going to have a petition booth at Napa here in Bandon on Wednesday between 10 and 2. I want to thank the Golder family for allowing us to be at the Napa store. It gives us a chance to pick up signatures here in Bandon, and it's a really good location because people, you can literally drive in. I throw the petitions in through the window, and you can sign it and throw it back out at me. It's a great relationship. And so we are pushing 3 petitions, and vote by mail is one of them. I got the website up there. Uh, Vote before tolls, or vote before tolling is the other. They want to put tolls on our roads. They want to put tolls on I-5, 205, and potentially 101. Can you believe this nonsense? Yes, they potentially are thinking about doing it on Highway 101. Well, if the bill in the legislature right now, the gas tax that's going through, they have taken the tolling ability of the legislature out of that bill, and we may see that at least be one advantage of this bill going through if it maintains. I don't know. It's past the House. I don't know what's going to happen if it gets into the Senate. It's going to be very interesting. And Javadi, you Italian ice cream sounding person there, I tell you what, Javadi, you need a swift kick in the Javadi. That's right. If you see Javadi, give him a swift kick in the Javadi. What a turncoat Republican. There were several turncoat Republicans. Like I said, I don't want to talk about that right now. There's so much other things to talk about. And we got the recall for Governor Tina Kotek. We'll have that petition. So that's 3 petitions you can get signed at one booth, one pop-up booth, this Wednesday, 10 to 2 at Napa in Bandon. And I'll get that posted. I'm sorry we're so far behind. It's just last week, every night I was out, we were either gathering signatures or we were at an event or we were at a meeting. I didn't even get to see my wife almost all last week. And really sucks for her because I'm the one who cooks the meals. So, we need to get back to her eating healthy again and me having somewhat of a regular schedule, but it's really hard when we got those petitions. And I know a lot of you want us to come out to different areas to sign them. We're getting there. We're really working on getting there. We're going to be in Coos Bay. We're going to be in Lakeside. We're going to be, I'm going to try to get out to Powers. I'm going to give it one hell of an effort. And several people I know who wanted me to drop by their work or their business, I haven't been able to do that either. Like I said, it's just been snowballing on me where it's impossible to get time. And if you want to help circulate petitions, you're more than welcome. You can go to End Vote by Mail, nvbm.com. Toll before tolling. That's Vote before tolling. Vote before tolling is another one. And of course, recall Tina Kotek. If you go to any of those websites, they can help you get those petition package so you can go out there and collect signatures yourself. But like I said, we'll be out there Wednesday at Napa here in Bandon from 10 to 2. I've got a really good interview for you. It goes on for about an hour and 20 minutes. I really enjoy talking to Dr. Bob Zybach. He's one of the last of the old school biologists. We're losing the old school biologist. And when we do, all we're going to have is a bunch of wannabe biologists who've learned their trade off of laptops. You know what I mean? They've really haven't spent a lot of time in the forest, the woods, and on the oceans. There's a lot of people out there who just don't know what the hell they're talking about, and yet they're in the science of studying animals and plants and trees and forestry and fires, and they just don't know what the hell they're doing. And Dr. Bob Zybach, he has been doing this for a long time. He's one of the people I consider a foremost expert on the Elliott Forest. We didn't discuss much of the Elliott Forest because he's running for Lane County Commissioner in District 5, and I hope him best of luck. But I'm going to play this, and I want to encourage all of you to, once again, please share and like this if you can, because I think this was a pretty good interview. to get the video to play. I don't know why that's happening. Can't get to the page for some reason to play the video. Oh, hey, there we go. There we go. Maybe it was locked on since I had it on. Okay, so here it is. Here's the interview. I hope you enjoy.
Reason it's for their use and their generation.
Hey, everyone,
There's
I
40
got to
years of
stop this for a
basically
second.
journal accounts of what's going on in the forests, what's affecting them, the wildfires, the politics. They're all contemporaneous, and so now they're all collected.
Let's see. I
My
apologize for
great-grandkids
this.
can maybe read them.
I'm going to have to start this over again. I apologize. There was no sound on it. I don't know why this happens sometimes. It's incredibly frustrating. Okay, let's see if we can got it now. Hey everyone, I want to thank you for joining me. I've got a special guest today, someone who has been a friend of this show for quite a while, going back to even when I was on the radio. And he's a gentleman who knows more about the Elliott Forest than probably most of the people who live on the Elliott Forest. And we're not going to talk so much about the Elliott Forest. He's running for office, and anyone who's running for office, who's a good guy, who wants more jobs, who wants to have common sense policy, I'm going to support. And I think you're going to like this gentleman. He's been on the show before, Dr. Bob Zybach. Bob, how you been, man?
Good, thanks, Rob.
No problem. You know, when you go to the commissioners meeting, I'd make them call you doctor. That would be.
If the only time I demand to be called doctor is when other people say, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a commissioner, I'm a chairman. So I go, well, okay, I'm Dr. Zybach then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Bob works.
So you've been campaigning, and let me ask you, it's different from your normal stuff that you do, your normal job, your normal life. What has changed with your life with campaigning? What have you found fun about it? What have you found a little annoying about it? How is it going for you?
I think it's going pretty good. The main reason I ran was frustration with not getting a message out for 30 years. And the new administration is really offering a lot of opportunities for new businesses, for workers, for stopping these wildfires, for preserving our old growth. There's all kinds of opportunity there. And we've got a bunch of people over in Salem saying, oh, we need a wildfire risk map that has absolutely no value to anybody except maybe the insurance industry. And They don't talk about the actual opportunities, the actual issues that matter to rural people. So I decided to do it for that reason. For 76 years, I had zero interest in being a politician, not the slightest fantasy. And then just the way the situations have evolved, just made the decision that I can probably get my message out better as a politician than as a failed article, editorial writer, interviewee, all the things I've been doing for years. So Cassandra went crazy. I became a politician. So kind of a parallel course.
There you go. There you go. And I wouldn't call yourself a failed writer. Your writings, I think, will live on for generations because people are going to come back to this, Bob. People are going to come back and say this government couldn't have been that crazy. They couldn't have put in all of these policies without without any kind of common sense management. And they're going to want to know there must have been someone who was talking about common sense management. I think your books are going to live on after you're dead. I think that's what's going to happen is that's when they're going to explode. And I hate to tell you that, but
if people have been telling me that for 10 or 15 years, I say, for you to get your word out, you got to die.
Yeah.
And so the backs of my last four anthologies are all dedicated to my bosses, my two great grandkids. For that reason, it's for their use and their generation. But there's 40 years of basically journal accounts of what's going on in the forests, what's affecting them, the wildfires, the politics. They're all contemporaneous, and so now they're all collected, and my great grandkids can maybe read them someday. But I think you're right. I have to die first. That's what they said. But I thought I tried stopping breathing, though.
Yeah, keep going as long as you can, because there are more books to write. So yeah, keep going. I was talking to a gentleman who's part of the New England Fishermen's Stewardship Association, and he was talking about the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management coming out to inspect the oceans, and he said that these college kids that they send out there have no clue what's in the water. They've worked on laptops. They have no idea. And it was exactly what you were saying about the Elliott Forest and these modern day foresters who really don't spend a lot of time in the forest. And I thought what the parallel was so it was just very loud. It was deafening. It was so loud.
Well, it's the same across most of the science fields, whether it's forestry or fish and wildlife or climatology or oceanography. They're all going to models, and the models are not science. Those are just a technology. So anybody that thinks they can look at a model and establish some critical habitat and some riparian regulations for 80 years is either a grifter or an idiot. There's no way. Nature is way too dynamic. And so we've got all of our kids being indoctrinated into how to manage a forest or what to measure in an ocean. And they're restricted by computers, binary thinking. It's either off, on, black, white, and out. And then somehow that machine tells them what the future is going to be and what people need to do and what light bulbs we need to buy. And it's just a bunch of crap. It's been going on way too long, and it's really degraded science education in our schools.
I worry about that, because talking to that gentleman and talking to you and talking to other experts, we were joking about you dying, but he's a gentleman who's in his mid-60s. A lot of these guys are hitting up there in their 60s and 70s, and it's like, once we lose that brain trust, I don't think we have the brain trust. I don't think we have the intelligence to replace it, or maybe not intelligence. I don't want to call them completely stupid, but they may not have the knowledge that it takes to actually know what the heck's going on out there.
Knowledge is based on experience and education, and they don't have the experience. Their experience is playing computer games, modeling. And it's not actually what they used to call boots on the ground forestry, or I don't know what they call them out in the ocean, but fishermen, I guess. But the lack of experience is the real serious problem. And so you hear these people talk, the experts, the so-called scientists, and you can tell within a few minutes that they have not a clue what they're talking about.
And going to many of these meetings, I've seen it. In fact, I've seen old school biologists actually sit in the audience and listen to these kids, and I'm talking about 30-year-old kids, read these reports that were written a couple of decades ago, and these biologists will stand up and go, what you're saying is not true. That's not what that report says. And I know that because I wrote it. And I've actually sat in a room and watched that happen. And it's great to see them, have to eat a little bit of a humble pie.
Well, and typically they don't. They're pretty arrogant. They got a lot of them 6-figure salaries and everything else. And they're the expert and they're the smart person in the room. And some old timer, like the cover of my Elliott book, has got 3 guys that I worked with, a couple of them for more than 30 years. And all 3 are gone. When I was in college as a middle-aged student, my master's degree was in oral histories. So I interviewed 17 people very thoroughly about the history of Soap Creek Valley, which is Oregon State property quite a bit, Oregon State University. And almost all those people are gone now. So if we don't pay attention to them, we're making a serious mistake, because for the last 30 or 40 years, people younger than that age or people that have moved to Oregon in the last 30 or 40 years don't think us old timers, and I hate to admit I'm one, know what we're talking about. And we know exactly what we're talking about. We got videos, we got books, we got photographs, we got memories, we got confirmation. And yet they're acting like their computer printout talking about hectares and pseudotsuga and metrics are somehow science. And it's not. It's a computer game, a really expensive one.
A really expensive one that cost all of us a lot of money. And sometimes it cost us lives. I mean, this is and something you're very experienced on is the forest fires that happened here. Look what just happened in California just fairly recently with the Palisades fire and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, that was and the reservoirs were empty. There was no water in the fire hydrants, and that's just an incompetence on a level that to me is criminal. And I'm starting to see that happening. Well, we were watching that happen here in the management of our forest.
Yep. Yeah. If people should look at 1962 Bel Air. There's a 28-minute videotape put out by the LA Fire Department. And in 1962, they actually did a far better job of analyzing why the fire happened at that time than now. And what the reason was fuel buildups, just like now, and no water in the water hydrants, just like now. The better thing they did was to analyze what happened with the fire. The good thing about the LA fires is finally the scientists that I've been butting heads with for decades said, well, it's not global warming. Well, no crap, Jose. Of course it's not. It never has been. It's the fuel. And they say, well, it's not the fuel either. It's a source of ignition. People are the only animals that can set a fire. And we do it every day, every one of us. So wherever people are, there's a source of ignition. You don't need a lightning storm. And they say, well, we have to know what the person's intent was. They just started a fire with a truck in deep grass. If you have an arsonist out in the ocean in a boat or up on a mountaintop, he can set all the fires he wants, but without the fuel, nothing happens. The fuel buildup is what made these fires so predictable in the early 90s. And a lot of us were saying, if you do the Clinton plan or the Northwest Forest Plan, you're going to have catastrophic wildfires. You're going to have massive unemployment in the rural areas. Our predictions came true, and they said, yeah, we adjusted our models, and it really is global warming. What about, I won't say the word.
Right. And so one of the things that I'm mystified about is that we're facing a fire season again. In fact, we had a fire. I forget where I had sent you a notice about a fire that was close to the Elliott, and we're in that fire season, and it's in Texas. We used to worry about tornadoes, and here every August and September, it's like we are all walking on eggshells because we're worried about the fires.
And with just cause from 1952 to 87, and I've said it on your show before and too many times. We had one major fire in Western Oregon. I ran a reforestation business. We did logging, slashing, pre-commercial thinning, year-round work for more than 20 years. And all that time, we never spent one day on a wildfire. It wasn't an issue. Then when the Clinton plan came in and the bird biologist came in and the other ologists came in, those of us who have been working in the woods for decades said, don't do it. You'll just screw up the town's economies and you'll burn up your forests. And none of the wildlife likes to live in flame. My God, you're killing millions of wildlife. And now we're learning that not only were all of the two productions were wrong. One, I told Jim Peterson on Evergreen Magazine in 1994, I said, we're going to have these catastrophic fires. And at that time, the public will rise up and they won't care what the scientists think is good or healthy. They will stop them. And then we had the Biscuit and the B&B fire in 2002 and 2003. And I thought, this will do it. And then we had the Eagle Creek fire, smoke out Portland. Then we had the Paradise fire, kill 130 people. Then we had the Labor Day fires. And at the time, I just thought, this is crazy. I had no idea that a racket could be this successful for so long. But then when they did the reforestation work and I saw what they were doing, that's the point where I became an angry old man. It's like, we are messing things up for our grandkids and our great grandkids, and this is wrong. This is not what we were left with. This is unethical. So I became a politician.
What do you, and we'll definitely talk about that because you went from dealing with facts to dealing with craziness. And so, but what do you mean by restoration, the way they were doing restoration?
Well, they don't know what they're talking about. It's kind of like when they say they're a conservationist, but they're really an obstructionist. They're not a conservationist. That means wise use of the resources. It's in the law. It was a well-known meeting and they perverted it. And then they say wildfire management. That's what we're doing. Well, that's crap. That's a contradiction in terms. It's a wildfire. That means it's unmanaged by definition. And so when they say restoration, they have the same problem. They have these industrial plantations planted like row crops. on millions of acres of federal land that were planted specifically to make jobs and logs. Those are crops. And they're saying, oh, well, now we're going to restore the landscape. We're going to let nature take its course. And somehow those plantations will magically transform themselves into spotted owl habitat and habitat for salmonids. And it'll be wonderful. We'll have to lay off thousands of people to do it. And we'll have to put up with some beneficial fire that comes and goes. But it's for the best. Trust us. We're scientists and we're here from the government. And it's just been one total disaster after another, using the dictionary definition of disaster.
Right. And yeah, so now this is where we're at. I, like you, I'm surprised that there's not more public outcry about this. And yeah. I know, and you know, that this is eventually going to happen again. And we're not predicting this. We don't want the fires. And that's, people they want to kill the messenger, but we're telling them the forest is going to burn. We know it's going to burn because we have history as an indicator. We have the fact that all of the same situation that existed before when there were wildfires exists now. This is not something that we're making up or we're trying to be alarmist about. Like the climate change alarmist, you know what I mean? It's like the ocean is going to die in 5 years. I don't know how many times I've heard that in the last 30, 40 years. And yet here we are in a situation that is, like I said, we're in Labor Day, and now the fire level is at high. It's perfect conditions for a fire right now out there. I mean, if we get something going, the weather is just in a perfect condition for it.
We had lightning strikes yesterday. And so in my district, which is East Lane County, there are now 3 wildfires near the town of Oak Ridge. This year, they seem to be treating them different. They treated the Cedar Creek fire in 2022. They let it burn. They actually set more fires. They had helicopters dropping ping pong balls full of flammable material, burning larger areas, sending dozers in instead of put the fire out to build fire trails so they could accommodate the fires they were setting. It ended up being 130,000 acres, $132 million paid by taxpayers, all the work being done by people from Alaska, New Zealand, Mexico, North Carolina. So none of the money stayed in the community. They all left, and they left 130,000 burnt acres. And the way they treated it is they put up gates and kept everybody out. I couldn't even get into the videotape. They wouldn't even let me take a drone in there because it was so dangerous. And what they meant was it was so embarrassing. They wasted so much money. And now they're spending tens of millions of dollars doing fuel treatment, which means they're going in and taking these old growth trees and second growth trees that should have made hundreds or thousands of jobs and millions of dollars for our schools. And we're paying tens of millions of taxpayer dollars to remove these flammable snags that should have been salvaged 2 years ago at a profit rather than a loss. So it's a mess.
And when you're out there and you're doing logging, the loggers out there, they tell me this all the time. They can pick and choose what tree they want. So if you actually wanted to save old growth, you just instruct people what not to cut down, and you still can take out all of the other material that's combustible and is causing the fuel that can be burnt later. That's the amazing part, because we make money off of that. And people have jobs off of that. And they're local people. These are people who eat at our restaurants. We've got a restaurant down here that's called Stockpot. And if you go up there any morning, you'll see a bunch of logger trucks out there. The guys, in their pickup trucks with the lights on it, with the mirrors that expand out. And there'll be at least a dozen loggers out there every morning eating breakfast. And I don't think people realize the impact that we have by not utilizing a forest that, as far as I'm concerned, nature provided it to us to utilize.
If we're going to save the old growth, we got to do exactly that. We got to take away the competitive second growth that's grown up around it, the ladder fuels. The government just came out with a report maybe a year ago where they went from the year 2000 to 2023, and who knows how they're defining old growth now, but it's big old trees for the most part. And they pointed out that 9,000 in the 23-year period that they measured, 9,000 acres had been logged, old growth had been logged, but 180,000 acres had been killed by bugs and diseases, and 700,000 acres of old growth had died from wildfire, like me and other people have been warning them about for 30 years. It's killing all the old growth because of the nitwits that are saying, oh, we got to let nature take over. These fires are beneficial. Their fire return interval is 18.32 years, and it's just a bunch of crap. And it's been crap for 30 years. It was like very obvious. And most of the people that were around that were calling them on it, I'm 76, and most of those people were older than me. They're not with us anymore. And that's the cover of the Elliott book right there. 3 guys that really knew their stuff. And yet when Department of State Lands or Oregon State University went to do a analysis of the Elliott, spend millions of dollars, take years to do it, they never even bothered to talk to those guys or me or read any of our work. It was just really shoddy workmanship, and we're facing the price.
We're facing the price. And once again, I go back to the fishermen on the East Coast. They didn't bother talking to the fishermen. They just went out there and decided, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And didn't bother talking to anyone in the industry. And that's exactly what they're doing here. It's almost like if you're a blue collar worker, that you're just too damn stupid to understand how smart they are and what they're doing for us. And those old growth, from what I understand, they're not keeping and maintaining the log roads that they used to have. So if they're not maintaining the log roads, aren't the old growth, wouldn't that be the ones who are out in the areas where there's now no roads to get to them and put out fires?
Yep. We got the inmates running the asylum. They've been doing it for 30 years, and we've been paying them money, a lot, 6 figures and more, to invest in carbon credits instead of actual work. And that's what I did in my oral histories. That was the point I made. If you want to go out to manage a forest, you talk to the experts. Those are the people that work in the forest. It's not some guy playing on a computer in a closet somewhere. It's got to end at some point. And the new administration has given us some blue sky for the first time. Look what they've done on the electrical generating fans that they got out, windmills they got in the ocean and stuff. They've been using common sense, and hopefully it will extend to our forest management.
So this is kind of where you kind of fall into why you're getting into politics. You have taken the dive. You are running for Lane County Commissioner. What district was it again?
District 5. And as a politician, I have to say, go to my Facebook page or go to my website and donate. Okay, yes. I got it out of the way.
All right,
Give
perfect.
me money.
and I'll tell everyone out there that that's the hard thing for people who aren't used to being in politics, is that they got to go out there and they literally got to ask people for money. And this is the hardest thing when I run campaigns, because guys like us, we work for a living. We aren't used to somebody, just putting money in our hands. And now that I've been in politics for a long time, actually, that is how it works. I have people who will donate to the PACs that I have, and I go out there and they trust me to be doing what they think I'm doing to, fight for the issue that they want. And it's a very strange business. It's much different than something that's science. I was an optician. I used to make eyeglasses. It's all math. You know what I mean? And there is no interpretations. It is or it is not. And so that's what's so frustrating about politics, because nothing is as it appears. Nothing. And let me ask you, what have you found now that you've taken that leap?
I've found that I'm not built to be a politician, but I knew that ahead of time. The other thing, it's kind of a cloistered group. There's some good people in there. most of them are just bureaucrats collecting a paycheck. And it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. We can see the Elliott as an ideal example of sheep following the lead goat, and that person being based probably in Portland and probably moved here from California or something. It's just it's why I was never attracted to it or paid much attention to it, because they were doing such a poor job that I didn't want to have anything to do with it. But like you say, we used to be able to go out and earn a living and do work and get paid, and that's how the world turned. And we paid taxes, and it went for poor people or disabled people. But now it goes for illegal aliens, people living on the street, bureaucrats, county commissioner. I thought they'd probably make 30 or 40 grand a year. They go to 1 or 2 meetings a week. It's $110,000. That's a lot of tax dollars for somebody that works as a politician. And I was told flat out by 2 main advisors, my main job as a politician is to be fundraising. And I thought, boy, that's the last thing I want to do. But I want to get this message out. And so I'm giving it a shot.
And anyone who can see the screen, there is Dr. Bob Zybach's website. It's a very nice website. I was checking this out. It was actually pretty neat. I love the picture. That's a great picture of you. I use that quite often on when we're advertising the show. But leading Lane County in jobs and wildfire prevention. And I thought that was a good way to go about it, because going back to the current administration, I believe that the one things that the president wants is more people working, more young people having opportunity to actually have family wage jobs where they can raise children, where they can have a future. And running for office, what have you run into as far as what others are telling you about jobs, what they're telling you about forestry? Are they telling you because I hear this all the time. Oh, well, no, we need to focus on tourism. We need to focus on this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, no, we're surrounded by trees. I'm not sure why they missed that. But what have you experienced with that?
Well, the reason I ran was I tried for quite a while to talk to politicians and say, these are the issues. And then I learned that none of them really know much about forestry. A lot of them are spread way too thin with lots and lots and lots of other topics. And those that vote on forestry, we have the Elliott. So they obviously unqualified. I mean, that's the polite word to tell us how to manage a forest. It's not for carbon credits. And those people, I mean, you look at what are carbon credits? Well, you don't cut the trees. Well, why not? Well, they'll store carbon. Well, until they burn, they will, sure. But so what if they store carbon? Well, it will regulate the temperature of the earth. And it's like at that point you go, you got to be nuts. You think me, I'll believe that? And then they've got 1 billion people believing it and paying taxes and giving them money. So, and they've been doing it for decades now. And it's crazy. It's just nonsense.
You know what I think it is that because a lot of these people, they live and they work in, like I said, in this little vacuum on their computer, and they're not really in the environment that they're studying and stuff. It seems like these predictions that they're making, they have to know that without, you know what I mean? It almost seems like they got to know this is BS. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like, I don't know. I don't understand how someone can write studies about the ocean and never be on the ocean. I don't understand how they can write about the forest and never be in the forest. It's just mind boggling. And that's why, like I said, I think your books and later on other people who are writing about other industries, that's the stuff that's going to, carry us through.
They're either grifters or idiots. I mean, 30 years of wildfires, they should have learned their lesson. They got away with saying, oh, it's global warming, which was nuts. But now they're saying, well, it's who set the fire. It's, oh, this is beneficial, or this is what's natural. And it's all lies. I mean, I don't know if they know they're lying. They're just been indoctrinated. A lot of people seem to really believe that stuff is true. But I think a lot of them, like you say, they must have realized years ago that oh, I'm 3 years from retirement. I'll just keep spreading the BS and then I'll retire and I'm on perks or something. It's they're just grifters, and it's got to stop. It should have stopped 20 years ago, but oh well. Give it
How
a
many? There's what, 7 commissioners for for Lane County?
No, there's 5, and 2 of them are
5.
conservative. They're really good, but they're outvoted 3 to 5. And I thought when I ran, I thought, well, I don't have a chance of winning, but I can get my message out politically because people aren't reading the articles. So I've been writing them for 40 years. So I know the people in Eugene will outvote me, but I want to put a spotlight on those people, those environmental lawyers and those environmental activists that have created this mess. And then I'll go down in flames. But then I found out, wait a minute, only the people in my district, 5 districts, can vote. The one in my district that has the position now doesn't know anything about forestry. She's got 1.5 million acres of BLM and U.S. Forest Service land, formerly some of the most productive land in the world. It used to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars, thousands of jobs in Lane County alone. And now they're pulling in Save Our Rural Schools or Secure Rural School SRS money, and they're having to go to the legislature and beg for 3 million or 5 million where there used to be 15 or 20 million. And so we got potholes and bad schools and high-priced politicians and people in the agencies calling themselves scientists by playing computer games. It's just been going on too long and has to stop.
Not only are they not refilling, this is the Common School Fund you're talking about, right? That
no, not. It's a different one. It's Secure Rural Schools Act of 2000. Wyden and those people put it in. They said, okay, now that we're burning up our forests instead of logging them, these counties don't have the money that they used to have for schools and roads. And BLM money goes just straight to the county, but U.S. Forest Service money goes straight to schools and roads. That's specifically what it's for. 25% going back to 1908. And they said, okay, we're not going to have that money. The land doesn't pay taxes. So we're going to have the taxpayers of the United States give you chump change. You'll go on welfare instead and collect tax revenue, and we'll renew it every 1 or 2 or 3 years. And so we got Wyden and the other grifters that are bragging about how they got us $4.7 million at the cost of 800 jobs and 20 million income, but they never say that part, the 50,000 acre fire. So it got old a long time ago, and now I can bitch as a politician.
Yeah. I got that up on the screen. I found it. It's the Secure Rural Schools program. The Secure Rural Schools program provides critical funding for schools, roads, and other municipal services to more than 700 counties across the U.S. and Puerto Rico. That's a lot. The Forest Service was established in 1905 with 56 million acres of land. By 1910, the amount of national forest system land tripled to 172 million acres. Today, the agency manages approximately 196 million acres. Congress ratified the act in May 23 of 1908 as a measure to support rural counties whose tax base was limited by the growing amount of federal land. A portion of the forest funds generate through multi-use activities such as grazing, timber production, and special use permits, and distribute it to eligible counties to help maintain local roads and schools. And this is a federal program, right?
If you go to my campaign website, you'll see schools and roads, and if you push on that link, it gives a summary of my position. Yeah, let's just do that. School. There you go. That's one way to do it. Another way is on the main screen there. Okay, now scroll down to the bottom of it, and you'll see another link, and push that link. And that tells the, now if you scroll down, you'll see a bunch of links and references, and that explains the whole income from the Forest Service, the income from BLM. It's Lane County focused, but it's referenced to all, 700 counties you said get SRS funds. It's got SRS, it's got payment in lieu of taxes, built funds. We've been having to collect that. We've been on welfare now for about 30 years, and we've been burning up our forests on purpose and sending the money overseas or to other states. The whole thing runs counter to what the law was, what the regulations were, what people intended. It's just turned into a giant failed racket. Well, the racket hasn't failed. Those people have done well, and most of them have retired very well. But it's been so costly, and it's really done a lot of damage to our forests, to our economies, to our rural towns, to our future. And that's why I'm working for my great grandkids.
So let me ask you, who's been better at this? The federal government at managing the federal government lands, which there's a lot of, they own like 54% of Oregon, or the state managing our state lands? Who does a better job?
Well, one thing, the federal government doesn't own it. We're the owners. So we're not very good at managing our land. The state had been doing way better than the feds for a lot of years. You could say in the 60s and 70s and 80s, maybe it's a toss-up. The feds are doing pretty good. But then in the 80s with the Spotted Owl and NEPA and Environmental Access to Justice Act, they started tying their hands. So you could have had real competent people, but by the 90s, those people were getting laid off or retiring because they were being replaced with ologists. And the founder of DEI was the U.S. Forest Service. In late 70s in California, DEI got started. So somebody like me, when I graduated as a middle-aged white guy with a PhD, I was unemployable. And so people got replaced with bureaucrats that play computer games and our forests burned and Nero's fiddling or something.
Nero is fiddling. But the thing is that, okay, going back to these people who are just hanging out in their basement, probably still living with mom. And the thing is maybe they just don't know how big the world is. That's what I find. People who don't travel a lot, don't go to a lot of places. I've driven across this country, and most of this country is undeveloped wildlands. I think someone put out only 10% of this country is actually developed compared to all the natural lands that are out there not developed. And so I wonder, well, why do we have this housing shortage? We got plenty of trees, we got plenty of land. It just seems like there's some disconnect of the reality of the situation to what's actually being applied to these policies or with these policies. It seems ass backwards.
Yep. We're pulling in lumber from Canada. People pull in their food from the grocery store. They don't have a concept. We're 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 generations removed from the land, and people don't understand that. One of the problems with building is people do that on all the farmland and the grazing land, and so those lands are critical for our survival as a species or as a nation, and yet those are what's being transformed to housing. And then they tell us how to those people tell us how to manage our forests and how to manage our wildlife, and they're not qualified. They're unqualified. That's the politest word I can think of. And they're high priced.
And they're high priced. Yeah. Well, they got to pay for that college. Loan. Have you because you're so involved with forestry and stuff, I know the Association of Oregon Counties has tried to help or partially helped. I don't know how well they've been doing. As far as I know, my county commissioners try to work with them to get the AOC to help out with getting the state lands to, fulfill their promises and stuff. Have you worked with the Association of Oregon Counties any?
I've tried real hard to do that. I've contacted them. They don't get back. I'm concerned about the forestry issues. they are one of the main reasons I decided to run for office. I thought, what in the hell? These people are being paid to represent our counties, and they're not even they're not answering their email. What the hell? And they're probably getting enormous salaries. But I tried very hard for the better part of the last year to contact those people and say, look, FEMA has got some deadlines. I can be helpful there. You've got forestry problems. There's all kinds of opportunities that are coming out of the new administration. And you're talking about a wildfire risk map that's a piece of crap. And you're missing what's really happening out there and what the opportunities are. So I would say AOC has been really expensive, and leave it about that.
But the nice thing is, though, as a county commissioner, the one thing that you get as a county commissioner is access.
Yep.
And they pick up the phone a lot faster when you've got that commissioner title in front of your name. It's amazing how fast that happens. And one of our guys down here, he's one of the new commissioners, and I've actually been quite surprised that he's really gone the distance at trying to get back some of these lands, because we have the ONC land, and then we have the Wagon Road land, and all of those were congressional acts. This is what kills me. They were congressional acts. There's been no law that has changed those acts since those acts were passed in 37 and 39. And yet we're still not able to get what is owed to us. This was, and with the Wagon Road, I think the county actually purchased that from, or the government, the federal government purchased that from the county, didn't they? Wasn't that one of those deals where that's why they're supposed to manage it and give us money from the forest? I forget the deal on that.
It's the Wagon Road. I wrote a paper on that, did research on it, but that was a while back, and I'm old. The ONC lands were railroad lands, private lands, and they were revested back to the government. And then, like you're saying, in 1937, and then 39 was the Wagon Road, but 37 was the ONC roads. The Wagon Road was from the 1880s, and I don't know if it was private land that went directly to the government or if the county interceded because of back taxes, which is likely, and then to the government, federal government. But the whole agreement was that that would be managed business-like for maximum yield, maximum jobs. And right now, 80% of it is off limits, building up fuel. So they're just breaking the law, and they're doing it based on these computer printouts and riparian zones and just a bunch of nonsense.
So as commissioner, I think this would give you the ability to also move up to speaking with the feds and talking to them about your county, because you would also get to work. There's a lot of county commissioners out here. I know all three of ours would agree on managing the ONC land and getting that. All three of them would be. I imagine the Douglas County commissioners would be in the same position. And so it just seems like the more we have as far as these commissioners who are telling the federal government, look, you need to get back to managing these practices under this administration, it seems like this should be moving a lot faster. Are you seeing that, or is there still just this roadblock?
I'm running for county commissioner because our commissioners are not doing their job. And the reason they're not doing their job is they're not allowed to. The 1897 Organic Act is still the law. The 1905 transferring the land from Department of Interior to Department of Agriculture, and it's in my campaign website. But it is very clear that local people are supposed to be actively involved in managing the land and producing products for the people of the United States. The money isn't even supposed to leave the state. That part has been changed, so now that you can share it nationally. But our county commissioner should be sitting down regularly with these people that are running the Forest Service and running the BLM and holding them accountable. How much money did we get last year? How many people are now working? How much of that money went to local businesses, and how much went to migrant workers and foreign workers and people from other states? Those things are real easy to figure out, and we don't have any county commissioners that can tell us what the numbers are. And they should all have them on the back of their hands. They should know those numbers. That should be part of their job. Those federal lands are our public lands. We elect people to represent us, and they should be working hand in glove with the federal government. That's the law. And they just don't bother because they're not allowed to, because the federal government has a whole lot of people a whole lot smarter than the rest of us, and the county commissioners apparently believe it. But it's time that they stood up on their hind legs and started doing their job.
How much, because I know it's a huge swath of land here in Douglas County, excuse me, and in Coos County. How big is BLM? And I don't expect you to have the exact numbers, but how big is BLM? You know, do they have as much land as Douglas County or Coos County, the ONC lands? Did Lane County have little ONC lands?
Lane County, there's 18 ONC counties, or yes, 18 ONC counties. But 4 of us, Douglas, Lane, Jackson, and Jefferson, I think, all get 12% to 25% of the total, and the other 14 get about 2.8% each. So not much. But the BLM is supposed to be managing their crop sustainably. That's what the law says, or the timber, and they should be cutting more than 1 billion feet a year. With restrictions, they say they're cutting 350 million feet a year, but last year they cut 250 million. So when Trump says add 25%, 25% of zero is still zero. We're about 250%, would bring us up to a level that is actually sustainable. And the sustainable level, which is the law, is how much does it grow a year? And the BLM, ONC lands, and the Wagon Road lands combined grow about 1.4 billion feet a year. And we're logging 350 million feet. We are cutting ourselves out of thousands of jobs and tens of millions of dollars every year.
That's an staggering amount of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money that's just sitting there waiting to burn.
Yep.
And so how much, because I know Coos County has 17,000 acres of forest land for the county itself. That's county forest land. And not every county gets that advantage. You know what I mean? In the Southwest, we didn't have any forest land. We had a lot of desert and tumbleweeds. But we had other things. We had gas and stuff like that. But turquoise. But here you know what I mean is how much do they depend on county forest land? Any in Lane County?
I don't think so. Most of the counties are dependent on the 18 ONC counties or national forest. The ONC counties are supposed to give us 50 cents on the dollar for all the timber they sell, and they're supposed to be operating at maximum yield, basically a sustained yield. The national forest only gives us 25%, but it's specific for schools and roads. But since they don't do the job, and since they waste money instead of make money, because apparently the enviros think that making a profit's a bad thing. I was at a meeting with a bunch of environmentalists and the U.S. Forest Service, and they were supposed to be representing the area, and they had a stewardship contract, so they're collecting money from the taxpayers instead of the counties. And somebody said, you know, it's a clear-cut decision. And as soon as they said the word clear-cut, everybody broke out in gales of laughter, and the person apologized.
Oh,
You're
geez.
supposed to say clear-cut or logging. Those are like bad words now. It's nuts.
That is nuts. No, and we've talked about this before. When I was in high school, they would show us pictures of Oregon clear cuts, and now that I know the truth, it ticks me off because all you would see is the horrible clear cuts, and they're cutting down every tree in Oregon. But yet, if they would have panned the camera over, you know, just 20 degrees this way, 20 degrees that way, you would see rows of brand new trees that were just planted, reforested, and are growing. And when I moved here, I was expecting, wow, I was just going to be nothing but clear cuts. This is going to be horrible. And it wasn't. We've got trees. We got more trees than we need. And every logger I've talked to said, you know, I've planted more trees than I've ever cut down. And I'm thinking, wow, we've really created a bad situation if we're not going to manage this stuff.
In a little over 20 years, I'm one of 2 people that I know of in Oregon that can say this. I personally planted over 2 million trees. On the picture of on the jobs thing there, it's a picture of me planting trees 45 years ago. And one reason I put that picture up there is, one, to interpret the photo, the stump in the background and so on, but mostly because those are jobs that Americans won't do. And so we have modern day slavery. We're hiring migrant workers, underpaying them, making them live in slave camps. Some of them are legal, some of them aren't, and we're catering to them, and at the cost of local jobs. And so it used to be local people, local businesses planting trees, school kids planting trees, and we did good. And we didn't have catastrophic wildfires because we had people out in the woods with chainsaws and walkie-talkies and piss cans and 4-wheel drive pickups, and they probably started a lot of fires, but then they put them out. And so, that picture there, if you look at it, that stump has been burned several times. The background is not burnt, so that was probably an old, I would say, a goat pasture, because that stump has been burnt many, many, many times. It probably died in the 1868 or 1883 fire, and then it's been cut. It's got a flat cut across the top. What I'm planting there are 3-year-old trees, 2-1s, much bigger than what they're planting now. And I'm choosing a microsite, the downhill side of that stump there. The background is slashed, what we call slashed. It's cut down to ground level, so there's no crown fuels. It's probably been sprayed to get rid of any weeds, because you don't want weeds out there. And we're planting at microsite densities. That is about 100% better work than they're doing now at an enormous cost. You don't see the clear cuts now, but you see tens of thousands of acres of dead standing trees, and there's no excuse for that other than incompetence.
I'm just curious, where's that bridge at? That's the behind scenery of that picture. You see the bridge?
No.
Is that a train trestle? Maybe it's a train trestle.
Maybe it's in Lincoln County, and if you look at the ridge line there, that's your burn boundary and your water boundary. I'll have to look closer at that picture. My goodness.
No, I'm talking about behind the picture is a.
Okay, good. I was like searching through the picture, thinking, my God, that is in West Fir.
Okay.
Out of Oak Ridge, and here in Lane County, we got a bunch of covered bridges. It's amazing. It was a big deal when I lived in Lincoln County. We had a couple, and Benton County had a couple, or maybe Benton County doesn't have any, but Lane County's got quite a few, and that's the one in West Fir.
Look at the timber. Look at the huge timbers on that thing. I mean, it's just huge.
Yep.
You probably couldn't even get some of that stuff today.
Well, there's a couple mills that can. Whole Oaks Lumber Company can. I think Murphy's got a mill, but yeah, not maybe Starfire. I don't know if they can handle the large stuff, but bridge timbers, trestles, things like that used to come old growth, quarter sawn, wouldn't rot, and structurally really sound and aesthetically really pleasing, and a lot of jobs.
Beautiful. It's beautiful, yeah. And the sad part is you have to be a craftsman to build something. You have to know what the hell you're doing to build something like that. And I'm wondering if we even have people who are smart enough to do that today. It worries me.
We got Elon. He's sending rockets to Mars. So we've got skilled people that are doing things like that. We've got new products coming out of the wood industry, but we've got the regulations and the litigation that keep us from doing it.
Yeah. Here's a picture.
Yeah.
This is from the wildfire prevention.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that looks horrible.
Yep, it is horrible.
I was just driving up to Bend, and I forget the highway that I took. You go past Crater Lake. Gosh, I can't think of the highway, but it was there was still a lot of standing trees that had been burned in some fire at some point, And it's just sad when you go by an area like this and you see this and you know that it should never have happened. It really should never have happened. I mean, it's going to happen in certain places, but not the way it happens now. And
No,
it's just frustrating.
if you look there, I'm standing next to a tree that was cut off so they could get a survey line in there. So I got to place the rest of my hand. But if you look, there's about 6 or 8 large stems. And then there's a lot of smaller stems. And you take out the smaller stems and you don't have a crown fire, and all the big fires, the big trees live. And that has been the problem. We put in plantations, created solid canopies, contiguous fuels that crown out. And I've been doing videos and photographs and writing about it for 20 years, and it turned me into a politician.
Oh, that's funny. Boy, now I forgot what I was going to ask about the tree stand. So the tree stand, if that's what's left standing, then actually, once that happens, that those trees, the ones that survive, because they've been weakened by the fire, aren't they more susceptible to insect and diseases coming in there? Is that a problem?
The problem is they don't survive. If you looked at that picture, they all die. It's 100% mortality when you have those crown fires. So yeah, it's just there should have been hundreds of jobs there, and there should have been money made, and instead they let the trees stay. And the point that people seem to miss is when you have a crown fire, you've got a bunch of trees that are filled with water, and then they all die. And you look at that picture right there, that's a bunch of firewood filled with pitch. It's air-dried firewood. And so your follow-up fires, which we've known since the Tillamook fires of the 1930s, the 6-year jinx, 33, 39, 45, 51, it kept burning up the standing snags. So people learned that you take care of the snags, you salvage them out, you get them out as quick as possible. And then in the 1980s, the scientists are a lot smarter than us. They said, oh no, those are natural, they're critical habitat. We got a bull and a rat and a minnow that all depend totally on these trees, and we got to leave them for our great grandkids, and they'll be 400 years old and everybody's going to be happy. And then there's people like me saying, you're creating a bonfire, you're going to kill all those animals. And then we're right. And then they say, well, yeah, but our model didn't accommodate global warming, but we fixed that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
So all of those trees that I just described, that because they were probably dead, they were just, it looked just like that. Yep. They should be taking those down then.
Immediately. When we had the Columbus Day storm in 1962, it blew down 11 billion feet of timber. It was on a Friday afternoon. I was in high school. I actually went out to fly a kite until the wind kept picking up too much, and then trees started falling. But that was a Friday afternoon. The people from the Forest Service, the people from industry got together over the weekend, and by Monday, they were salvaging trees. They had a plan in place. Down at Oregon State, it blew down. There's 11,000 acres there of school property. It blew down a lot of the trees, most of them. The dean of the College of Forestry, I think he's also president of the university at the time, got together with a local logger and a college graduate, Marv Rowley, and wrote out a 2-page contract. 2 guys that knew what they were doing, and then they went out and salvaged the trees, created lots of jobs, pulled in millions of dollars, fixed the problem, and now there's a beautiful forest there. Same with the Tillamook burn. There's a beautiful forest there, and now we got the people in Portland saying, oh, this is critical habitat. And you go, a cornfield is not critical habitat. This is a plantation, for God's sakes. But we can't seem to get through to these people because they know so much more than the rest of us.
So we're actually preventing the next forest from growing by allowing these trees to stay there.
Yep.
That's freaking stupid.
That's what I said. No, I said crazy.
That is, whoa, I'm sorry. I can't stand to watch this level of incompetence. And it's such a level of incompetence, you have to go, is it incompetence or is it intentional? Because something just doesn't seem right here. I mean,
difference between sabotage and incompetence, you can't tell. And
yeah.
so we have the North Koreans running the national forest and systematically destroying our land and killing our wildfire and fouling the air and ruining our economy. Or are these just incompetent people, or is it sabotage? And they look exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what it is, but definitely there's a lot of, it's definitely a racket that a few people have benefited by, mostly lawyers and investors, and at the cost of tens of thousands of jobs and schools and forests and millions of wildlife. That's been the payment.
That's been the payment. And we all, the sad part is that many people are getting what they deserve because this is the policy they promoted. The unfortunate thing is those of us who said, whoa, this is crazy, are also suffering the consequences that they imposed upon us. And that's why we got to turn things around and get you elected. That's literally.
I don't know if I can get elected or not, but I want to use this opportunity to get the word out to the voters and to politicians that there's real opportunity here with this new administration, first time in 30 years, and we need to take advantage of it. And we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. We have to identify the lawyers and the environmental groups that have been pulling this crap for 30 years and profiting. They haven't learned any lessons. They've learned that you can make a lot of money by chaining yourself to a tree and filing a lawsuit. And then the taxpayers pay them through the Environmental Access to Justice Act. So it's a double whammy that they're taking away our jobs and charging us money to do it, killing our wildlife. And the other point is that we didn't know back in the 90s. We knew this would happen. Nobody believed it would happen for 30 years. We thought after 5 or 10 years, people would wise up. But the smoke that's going into the cities and stuff, we used to say that that was irritating and bothered your eyes. And if you're asthmatic, stay out of it. They're finding out, they did a study in New York, that about 10,000 people a year in the eastern United States are dying prematurely from smoke from Canadian fires. They did another study in California that showed that about 5,000 people a year, every year, are dying from smoke from California wildfires. We didn't have wildfires from 50 to 90, so we didn't have tens of thousands of people dying. But now it's tens of thousands of people are getting killed by the smoke, and maybe that will wake them up. The wildfires and the problems in the rural towns and stuff doesn't seem to bother them once it starts raining in the fall.
So you said that was a study. Is that also a study that they did here in Oregon or California? Was that an actual study they did here?
No, the California study is UC Berkeley, and that was just in California. And I've got them both cited and referenced and linked in the platform there. So if people go through the platform, I've got everything referenced and cited. So
that's great because which one would that be under? Local jobs, wildfire?
Let's scroll down to the bottom of wildfire. There's 4 different planks. So if you scroll down to the link there and hit that link for more information, that's where I've got and now scroll down. And if you'll see somewhere in there, the print's too small for me, but there it is, National Library of Medicine and University of California. If you click on those links, you'll go right to the studies themselves. So you don't even have to believe me. There it is.
Yeah, because you might be a lying old white guy.
I could be. I'm an old white guy, so I'm off to a start.
But this is great. You have an actual study here to show that there are people who are there's a deleterious effect, a deadly effect on human life, and of course this I'm sure is affecting everything. So we can bring in the animals in this. It's the spotted owl has to breathe too. To me, this is the road in. This is the road in. This was done in May of 2023. I have never heard of this, and I bet you there's a reason we're not hearing about it, because this is one of the things that people will get ticked off about. You know what I mean? This is something when they realize that their babies, their children are breathing in this nasty stuff. This is the kinds of things that I think I am going to get this out there. In fact, now, yeah, this is beautiful. I
And
didn't realize this.
just one of them, but you're saying it's surprising people haven't heard about it, but that's the reason I'm running. It's like, where is the media? They're talking about a wildfire risk map. They're not talking about death. They're not talking about hundreds of millions of animals getting killed in flames. They're not talking about critical habitat that's been smoked and killed all the animals. It's ridiculous. The whole thing should have ended 20 years ago. It's still going on. And hopefully the new administration is, and they seem to be, they're looking at NEPA, they're looking at the Chevron decision. And I've linked all of that in my platform just for that reason, so that people could see that, well, he might be a lying old white man, but he got good citations and references. If you go back,
I know that they still, I know I'll put out stuff and it's like, I will document where I got it from and they'll still, oh, you're spreading misinformation. And it's like, well, I got it from an official government office. So if I'm spreading misinformation, so is the government.
yeah. Well, the thing that they do on me, that the one thing that I graduated in 2003 with a PhD, National Honor Society. I've never had a single job offer. And then I had these nitwits say, oh, science tells us. And I go, hey, wait a minute, I'm a scientist. I said, nothing of the sort. What are your sources? What are your citations? So that's the one thing my PhD does. When I cite a source, I can acknowledge it, I can discredit it, I can question it. Science is not a game of consensus. They say consensus science tells us, and it's like, well, that's bullshit right from the get-go, because that's politics. Science is a game of challenges. When somebody tells you something, you're a skeptic. You question it. You don't go, oh, yeah, that's what we all believe. Yeah, that's the fact. That's crap.
That was the big thing at the wind turbine meetings. We got to come to a consensus. We got to come. And I kept saying, well, as long as the consensus agrees with me, I'm willing to go along with it. But it seems like your consensus takes me the other way. You know, it's like when they ask you those questions and they give you 4 answers to choose from, and none of the 4 are the ones you would choose. It's
That's, well, on the Clinton plan, they had 9 options, and at that time I was better known, and I was actually getting paid to work and things. And so I did a 100-page analysis of the 9 options, and I called them a variation on a theme. They were all the same option. They were just like, oh, should we have 1 bead on the necklace, or should we have 3 beads, or should we have 4 beads? And it's like, that necklace is going to strangle somebody. You don't want a necklace. You want an option. You might want a brooch instead. So it's not right. It's not science. It's politics.
That's the 2 things they use. They use consensus and bounded choices. It's like if you're dealing with an Alzheimer's patient, you don't go to an Alzheimer's patient and go, what do you want for breakfast? Because you'll be there all day trying to figure out what this. No, you go, I'm sorry, we've got jelly toast or apple toast. Which one would you like for breakfast? You know? And that's why you give them a bounded choice. Well, we're not Alzheimer's patients in a hospital, and we can think outside the box. And here's what killed me about the consensus. When I told them that I don't agree with the answers that they're giving us, they said, well, you can wait until we get to the other part. And I kept saying, well, then I guess we really will never have consensus. So what you're trying to achieve will never happen, because you're putting me in a situation where I have to choose choices I will not make. And it's frustrating.
Yep.
And it's not science. It's not science.
It's one. A guy said it just 5 or 6 years ago, but it's become a famous saying: you mix science and politics, you get politics. It's not science. Consensus is strictly politics. Bounded decisions, strictly politics. It's not science.
So before I get you out of here, is there anything you'd like to cover before we get any further down the road?
I think we've covered everything pretty good. Send me money. I think that's it.
Send him money, and I'll tell you what. Let's see. I love this. Let me see if I got it sharing here. No, of course not. I don't. You got a really good website. I really I like this. I mean, sometimes you can go to people's website and you're like, it looks like a project some fifth grader did.
I hired the people that did it, and they did really good, and they let me have a lot of input. So it was. I was happy with the result, and it was relatively reasonably priced. But that's what they do. They promote politics and write political websites, and they ran one by me, and I started. You could see how we went into the references and everything. So I think it came out real well. Nice little clips of my book and videos telling people about science and different things. There's the three guys that worked on the Elliott.
Yeah. Sorry, it keeps. But yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And like I said,
I think they did a good job.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, this is very good stuff. Communities. Let's go through that real quick. Yeah, they did great. Oh,
Yeah,
this is perfect. Look at this.
Yep. And I've got all the towns linked below, and now I'm in the process of visiting them all and putting brief histories and photos up of each of those towns. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a bunch of links. That's the part I'm just starting to work on. So those are all the towns in my district, and those are the only people who can vote for me.
Those are the important ones. And just stay in your district and focus on these people. I'm willing to bet that it seems like people who live in rural areas are normally more conservative. They like common sense. They like having jobs for their family and stuff. This just seems like they're just more down to earth people. Knocking on doors, that's one of the best ways. It's an old fashioned way to do it. It's a hard way to do it. But literally, that's what I tell most of my candidates. If you can get to an area where you can knock on a few doors, start doing that. I know it's not the easiest thing to do. And writing letters to the editors or op-eds. You get how many? Do you get a lot of op-eds or articles in any of the Lane County papers?
I've written several in Lane County. Last year, I actually got paid for writing 6 editorials. I was sorry to see that end. I've written probably 30 or 50 through the years, and they've never had much impact. Has been the problem. But linking these areas, and like I was in Dexter, and I went to the Dexter Club, and I lived next to it 50 years ago when my kids were little. Well, no, they weren't even born yet. My wife was pregnant, so 53 or 54 years ago, beer was 25 or 35 cents. But I went in there, met a couple locals, paid $7 for a beer, so quite a bit of inflation. But it's better beer than 50 years ago, higher quality. But I don't know if it was 28 times better. But
yeah,
it was at least twice as good.
That's everything these days.
It's an amazing district.
That is an amazing district. That is huge.
Yep.
That is a damn huge district. So you have the more rural area in your district. Is it the more rural area?
Well, it's completely rural, but it's not like Coos or Douglas County in that there's a lot of spillover from Eugene. So about 50% of the district, people are telling me, are high unemployment. Not so much homeless because there's not so many people, but it's 30 years ago, it was a wonderful wonderland, beautiful forests, thriving communities, lots of jobs. You'd be a sophomore in high school if you're athletic and flunked a few times, you're 16 or 17, you could get a good paying job that afternoon, sawmills or logging or tree planting or whatever, road building. Lots of work to do, lots of good work to do, beautiful environment, lots of campgrounds, trails, and we didn't have catastrophic wildfires.
That better be my wife.
So it was really conservative in those years. But conservative in those years meant a lot of Democrats. They're just common sense. It's a different generation.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the Democrats from years
Hey, baby.
past was my parents were
Hi, little
Democrats,
girl.
and they're not anymore. They're
Yeah.
not anymore. It's like,
Mwah.
no, we didn't leave the party. The party went crazy. and
It's not
left
live.
us.
Yep.
I'm recording.
Yep.
Let me show that again. That's because that is a huge area to cover. So that really kind of puts it puts a lot of work on you, because
Yeah.
that is a huge area to cover.
I've been
Yeah.
writing about the forests in that area for 10 or 15 years, knew all about it. I decided to run for county commissioner. I said, I can't educate these guys. These are really important issues. They're paying no attention to them. We've got all these opportunities that are coming up with the new administration. So I'm going to run for office and try to inform people. And then but I thought I don't have a chance of winning because Eugene's got a bunch of voters. And then they said, no, only the people in your district can vote. And I went, okay. And 2 or 3 days after I decided to run, I looked at a map and I thought, oh my God, this is Nirvana. This is exactly the area I've been writing about. We got the Cedar Creek fire here. We got Jim's Creek project going on. We got the whole McKinsey corridor that I videotaped and put online after the 2020 wildfires. And I know a lot of the local people real well, and I've known them for years for those reasons. So yeah, it's a real big opportunity to really educate a lot of people over a large area. And going door to door means a 70-mile drive. So I'm trying to do a lot of it on cyberspace and at the local tavern and the Grange Hall.
Yeah, I would recommend the Grange Halls.
Yep.
I will plug you into a few groups out there that I know, and
Okay.
we'll get you in contact with a few people I know out there, and we'll get you some meetings. There's a 912 club in.
I talked to the 912 Club. I've talked with them on and off for about 15 years. And then when I announced they were the first place, Lars Larson Radio and the CG 912 group were the two places I announced. And I've been to 2 meetings since then. So that's some good people for sure.
And anytime you can get on Lars, that's his area, man. And
Yep.
yeah,
He's really good on forestry issues. Yep.
Yep, that's where I'd be pushing it. And I would check all the local. I'll look for you and see if there's any local radio stations that hit those areas, because you want to. Radio stations, I got news for you. They're craving for information, especially if they're news talk and stuff. Guys like me who are on the radio, we'd appreciate when people like you who'd come to us. It's like, oh my gosh, we need material. So yeah, I'm sure there's someone out there who's clamoring to have that on the radio. And it doesn't matter what their ideological bent is, because they're looking for information. So they want to have everyone on.
Most of that area doesn't get radio because it's up in the mountains, but there's a station in Eugene and Lars is on that. I've been on Lars probably 20, 25 times over the years because wildfires, it's always an issue. And then the station in Cottage Grove, Cameron, I'm not thinking of his last name right, maybe he's a blind guy that owns the station, and he has the beeper show in the morning. And I don't do mornings if I can help it, but he was at a CG 912 meeting and we talked, and I've been on the beeper show. So, and then I can go on the Eugene station. I think it's 1120 or something, but it's like 8 or 9 in the morning. So I'm going to be careful about scheduling that one.
Okay, so that's the problem I have with these damn political meetings. They'll have these meetings at 7:30 in the morning. I'm like, you sons of bitches. Why are you doing this to me? But you're right. In politics, I'd like to sleep in a little bit later myself because I'm a night owl. I do my best work at night and stuff. And so I totally get that. When I used to work, I'd have to be at work sometimes at 6, 5 in the morning. There'd be
owling in the woods. Yep.
Yeah. And so, but over the last couple of years, I'm not into the 7:30 meetings, but I'll make them if I have to, because you got to keep them honest. And I appreciate you running. thank you. And you've given, you running for office, you're giving something to people that they don't get a lot of, and that's choice. First, you give them a choice, and then you give them an opportunity to have something different than the same old, because you're probably running against an incumbent, right?
Well, there's something up in the air there. I might be running against somebody that I would actually support, but only support them if they integrate my forestry message, because what I'm running on is putting all those people that are living on sidewalks back to work. Yeah. And also to keep the money local, stop sending it to other countries and other states and migrant crews of people from North Virginia that are supposed to be setting fires to our woods or something for some reason, and leaving town when they leave a mess. It's so the issues I'm running on are more important than getting the job. And if I get the job, then I'm more than a night owl. I got a circadian rhythm that goes back to grade school, where almost all my work is between 11 at night and 4 in the morning. So when I was younger, I could get by on 1 or 2 hours sleep for weeks or months. But those days are long gone.
Yeah, not anymore. I remember those days. I know, living on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Yeah, those were the days. Yeah. But you're right. I eat dinner now and I fall asleep in the lounge chair. It's not good. But then I'm up for the rest of the night. So, well, I want to thank you for joining us. I appreciate it so much, and we're going to get you back on here because I think this is a wonderful campaign. And anything quickly you want to say to the audience before we get you out of here?
Send me money.
Send them money.
That's all I know. I've enjoyed the conversation. It's good talking to you.
It's always good talking to you. I love it. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
And that was my interview with Bob Zybach, Dr. Bob Zybach. And Ashley Hicks, to answer your question, old growth is illegal to harvest in Oregon, isn't it? I really don't know. That would be a good question for Dr. Bob Zybach. I don't even know what the definitions of old growth, because I've seen some people try to claim that 70 to 80-year-old trees are old growth. And I'm thinking, I'm just 10 years away from 70, and I wouldn't consider myself an old growth tree by no stretch of the imagination. 120, maybe 150. I mean, really, what are old growth trees? I don't know. But thank you for joining, Ashley. You had a lot of great comments. It was recorded, so that's why I wasn't answering your questions. And Steve Nye says, Bob, you have this. You're locked into what matters in rural Oregon. And Bob is a really good candidate. And I think, like he said, I was checking it out, he has a pretty good candidate that he's running against. So either way, they're going to come out okay if those two are the only ones in the race. They have candidates have until I think it's March. Opening of the election starts on September 11th. And if you want to be a candidate, you can sign up on September 11th. And I think you have until March 10th, I believe it is. Don't quote me on that date. And I believe the election is May 10th this year. Let me look. I guess I should look. We do have these things called calendars. I know they're wild and new inventions, but yeah, let me look. May 12th, it looks like. May 12th. It may be the May 12th. I don't know. I'm not sure when the 2026 election is, but whenever it is, whatever that date is in March, is usually the sign-off date for running for those positions. And this year we've got 4 important positions that are coming up. We've got 2 commissioner positions. You got John Sweet and you got Rod Taylor. From what I understand, and I haven't talked to him myself, but I do believe John Sweet is running again. And I don't know what Rod Taylor is going to do. I think what he's waiting for is to see who his opponents are. And if he gets a couple of crazy leftists in there, he's going to hang in and try to maintain that seat. I would appreciate it if he did. The other position is county clerk, and I would like to see Julie Brecky leave. I would like to see her to go bye-bye. I didn't really. I'm not sure how she even got elected. It was quite strange. The election of 2022, was it 22 that she got elected? Was it 24? Gosh, there's so many elections. I can't keep track of all of them, but she's up for election. Maybe it was 2020 because it's a it's a 4-year term, right? That would be 26. So it'd be 22. Yeah, it's a 4-year term. So it would have been a 22 that she would have got elected. And I think she ran against Diane Rich was one of the people she ran against. But we need a new county clerk. And other than Marty Kurt, I really don't know too many people who I'd want to see in that position because it's a very technical position. You have to be very accurate in your math and accounting to be in that position. Brecky, I don't think she's sympathetic to people who believe that our elections are, well, they're not safe. They're not safe at all. There's a lot of questions about our elections. And I'm, for one, after studying the vote by mail, after studying what we have on the ballots and how people are being registered to vote, yeah, we've got some problems with our elections, especially here in Oregon, some huge problems. And hopefully we can get that set out. But the one way to get down further the road is to have someone who's applicable to election integrity processes, such as validating whether the machines are accurate or not, allowing people to make requests for the ballot images and not redacting most of the information that you need to find out the things that you're looking for on these ballot image requests. And so all of that would be important if we got rid of Jolie Brecky, who's the Coos County clerk here, and replaced her with someone, who's better, just better. We deserve it. We deserve it in the county. And the other one who's running for office is sheriff. I don't know anyone who would want to be sheriff right now. Who shot the sheriff? I didn't shoot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy either. The poor sheriff. I wouldn't want his job for nothing right now. He's in a very bad position. Who would want to be in a sheriff where you have a state where the justice system has been sabotaged by the legislature? You can't go after criminals. When you do have to go after criminals, you can't hold them. And when you do hold them to get prosecuted, they never keep them in prison long enough to make it worth our damn time. And so it must be very frustrating for police and law enforcement today. But the sheriff, it's a very important position, and I doubt that he'll even be facing a challenge because I just don't see anyone who wants that job. Ashley Hicks says, I guess it's not illegal, but highly regulated, depending on various factors like private land ownership, the age and species. Seems very confusing, but no less than 150 to 200 years of age on average. And that's what I would say, 150 to 200 years at least on that, Ashley. I would agree with you. And that's what I was thinking. On public lands, the regulations are probably completely different than on private lands. On private lands, people could probably cut down whatever the hell they want. I don't know. I'm not a logger, so I really couldn't tell you, but that would be an interesting question to ask Dr. Bob Zybach. Let's see if I got some of my PDFs here because I've got some really good sponsors that I need to tell you about. 3H Tree Service, great guys. I went over and had lunch with Matt. Didn't intend to. Matt and his mom and dad, yes, Regina and Dennis were there at the Stockpot restaurant. I was driving by on my way up to the fair. If you missed the Friday night rant, I broadcast live from the Oregon State Fair. I talked to Michaela beforehand, which was a good conversation. But I highly recommend 3H Tree Service for all your tree needs. 541-294-1800. 3H Tree Service. And it's Labor Day, so that's why we weren't playing any Where's 3H Tree Service today. But they're always active. They're always out there. They're not working today, but they'll be out there tomorrow. And they'll take your call at 541-294-1800. You got some problem trees that are causing a liability. You got branches hanging over your house or maybe your neighbor's house. You want to take them out. And when they do take them out, and they clean it up, leave the area, you don't even know that they were there. They just leave you with a beautiful view and all of those liability trees are taken out of there. So good stuff. And of course, Tom and Giggs, 135 South Shoneman Street, excellent people there. I'm going to have to take my Sentra over to Tom and Giggs. I got back from the fair and my fan was making a strange sound. It sounds like the motor on the fan may be going out. I don't know. I'm going to have to go over to Tom and Giggs and have them look at it. Why? Because they're some of the best people in the automotive industry to take care of your cars, and you can call them at 541-888-4660. Once again, that's 541-888-4660 if you want to give them a call and get an appointment. And by the way, this is what I should have done. They will check out your car for free to see if it's travel worthy, and stupid me, I didn't check. I didn't go down there and have Tim or one of his guys check out my car to make sure it's travel worthy. And I should have, but they'll do that. And if you need shocks, struts, alignment, they can take care of all of that stuff. You need to check your car because maybe your fan motor is going out. I don't know. Maybe you got to go check them out. But Tom and Giggs is the place to go at 135 South Shoneman Street in the Empire neighborhood, right behind the car wash. And if you know where the Empire neighborhood is, you sure as hell know where the car wash is. And believe me, they got all kinds of cool stuff out there. I haven't been over there in the last 2 weeks. I certainly hope. I don't know if they still have this, but it's a really cool gadget here. This is a remote control surfer guy. And I just thought this was really neat. If you got any kids, you're looking for creative gifts, they are the #1 dealers in RC cars and RC products. They've got all the neat little accessories for all those cars and stuff. Great place to go. Tom and Giggs, just some excellent RC cars out there. Great selection. They've got good prices. Yeah. And there it is, Tom and Giggs, lift kits and performance accessories. Yes, and they do a good job out there. I mean, I've known Tim and Shanna for, going on a decade plus, I don't know. You get old like me, it all wears down to one. And they've got some really cool stuff. That guy right there, he knows all about those cars. If you need an accessory for one of your RC cars, this guy can take care of it over at Tom and Giggs. Really good stuff. They've got planes, they've got a hero copter, and they've got tannerite. You will be asked for your ID if you're going to buy tannerite because you have to be 18 or over to purchase it. Wow. What a world we live in, 18 or over. And of course, for all you who are, you partake in smoking the herbs, Herbal Choices. I recommend Herbal Choices Cannabis Dispensary. My favorite dispensary, the herbalchoices.com website is a great place to go to check out all the products. And remember, on Wednesday, it's Wild Wednesday, and they have their gummies on sale. I think they're like 25% off. That's a huge discount on any product. So Herbal Choices on Wednesday for Wild Wednesday. Herbal Choices Cannabis, a great dispensary, and they do have 5 stores. They got one in Charleston, one in Coos Bay, one in Bandon, one in Reedsport, and one in North Bend for all your herbal needs. And of course, I always recommend Oregon Firearms Federation. I don't know what's going to be coming up for these guys. I haven't talked to Kevin. I need to get him on the show. But if you want to find out more, OregonFirearms.org is the place to go. Sign up for their newsletter. I mean, he was really slapping down the legislators for their gas tax BS that they're doing. And Javadi, you need a kick in the ass. You need a real kick in the ass there, Javadi. But you can find out more at OregonFirearms.org. Great place. Kevin's been doing one hell of a job for the last 30 years. And if you got any extra money, please donate to Oregon Firearms Federation because they've got a lot of lawsuits going on where they're fighting in the courts for our Second Amendment rights. These are our rights that they're fighting for. And it's sad that they use our tax dollars against us. So Kevin needs your help over there at Oregon Firearms Federation. And he don't take no BS. He doesn't take any BS. It's a no compromise group. Bandon Gun Club, they're not my sponsors, but I always recommend bandongunclub.org to hone in your pistol skills. And of course, TaigaSportsPark.org if you want to sight in your telescope, this is a good place to go. TaigaSportsPark.org. You can find out more. And if you want to be a volunteer, if you like working with people with firearms, they always are accepting volunteers out there. They need those positions. And Coos County Neighborhood Watch on Facebook, one of my favorite pages on Facebook. I recommend you go check it out if you are someone who's a victim of a crime or you want to see what's happening in your neighborhood. This is the first place I go every morning, is the Coos County Neighborhood Watch, to find out. It's amazing, the pictures and photographs. And it's even more amazing the ones we actually don't post. If you could see the ones we don't post, wow. I mean, just go check out the ones we have posted on Coos County Neighborhood Watch, and you could only imagine the extremities of the ones we haven't posted because, well, for legal reasons, we just don't do that. But Coos County Neighborhood Watch on Facebook, really good group. And of course, Chris Castleman's group, the Coos County Citizen Council, he has a podcast every Wednesday, and you can find it at Coos County Citizen Council on Facebook. Yeah, that's what they do. And there you go. That's just some of the things that are happening. We're going to be at the Napa parking lot on Wednesday here in Bandon from 10 to 2, getting autographs. We think that's a good thing, getting all those signatures to recall the governor. You want to keep the governor? I don't. Even if we recall her, we're going to get another dirtbag to replace her. But, let's keep getting rid of the dirtbags. That's what I say. And we have one to vote before tolls, because we don't want tolls. We don't want trolls either. We don't want tolls. We don't want trolls. That whole Billy Goats Gruff thing, it really got to me. So I'm totally opposed to trolls, but I don't have a troll petition. I have a toll petition to get rid of the tolls, not the trolls, even though I'm opposed to both. So come down if you're in Bandon on Wednesday, and you can sign the vote before tolls, because we don't want those toll roads put in on roads that already exist. And we're going to end vote by mail. We're going to go back to precinct voting. This is the important thing. I've got an article that's going to come out tonight talking about precinct voting and what happened this weekend with the Republican Party. We're still trying to get, I think we now have 19 people who want to be PCPs, precinct committee persons, and they didn't even have a meeting, didn't even announce they weren't going to have a meeting. That's okay. We had our own meeting. And I wrote an article about it. It was pretty cool. And I'll be posting that on robtaylorreport.com. That's my website. And I recommend you go to YouTube, Rumble. If you're watching this on Facebook or on X, please like it and share. Share the hell out of it if you enjoy this type of material, because I imagine there's a lot of people out there who would like to see some of this stuff, because especially if they live here in the area in South Coast Oregon, I'm probably one of the few places where you can go to get news that you're not going to hear about everywhere else. Steve 9. Steve, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you so much for showing up for the meeting this past Thursday. I really enjoyed seeing you. I feel Gabe is a good dude. He can only do what the county grants him, what he can do. And yeah, I kind of think he's in a box. I think no matter who you put in that position is going to be in a box. Peggy Rentz says, we will be leaving the vote blank on sheriff. We don't support this liberal sheriff. Just my opinion. Okay. All right. I did vote for Mike Kennard, and I have to apologize to Mike Kennard's wife. I was at a Republican meeting a month ago, and I really went off a lot of F-bombs, said a lot of horrible things. Sometimes you're seen in light by new people that it's not flattering to you, and she probably got an image of me that I don't think is, well, the totality of my personality. I'm not that person who is yelling and screaming and dropping those F-bombs. I am, because I will do it, but it's just not the totality of my personality, of the person I am. So, I apologize that she had to see me in a really ugly minute. Sometimes in politics, you really got to let your ugly show, and I did. So I hope she accepts my apologies. And I hope that Mike Kennard comes back to the Republican meetings, because I really enjoy him. I enjoy his company. But I didn't vote for the sheriff, but I don't think there's going to be anyone who's going to challenge him this time around. Steve Nye says, is he a liberal? I have no idea. I don't think so. I don't think he's a liberal. I just think that he's not someone to buck the system as much as other as Mike Kennard would have been. I think Mike Kennard would have bucked the system a little bit more, which is kind of what I think we need. But that's okay. I don't think Gabe is a bad person. I don't think he's even doing a bad job. Like you said, Steve, he's doing what he can with what he has. And he's been put into a bad situation. It's sad. I feel sorry for law enforcement. I don't even know why people get into the job of law enforcement. It's very depressing. And I've got relatives, I got friends who are cops. I got friends who were cops for years, and they go through hell out there. They go through hell, and then they've got city councils or county commissioners or the state that just doesn't back them. The legislature doesn't back law enforcement in this state. The cities don't back law enforcement. So it's a screwed up job. I feel sorry for these guys. I don't know what to tell you. Peggy Rentis says, seems like he is to me. I don't agree with his policies. And there may be a lot to that, Peggy. He had at least a dozen people walk out of the office when he was elected. I don't know if you people knew that, but 12 people left the office of sheriff, the Coos County Sheriff's Department, when Gabe was elected to sheriff. That says something. I really don't know what it says because I didn't talk to any of those people. Cheryl Armstrong. Oh, and thank you for watching, Peggy. I appreciate that. Cheryl Armstrong says, will someone be here in Coquille soon so I can sign the 2 petitions? I already signed the recall for Idiot Lady, but I need to sign for Toll one and the one vote by mail. And we'll be in Coquille, Cheryl. I promise you we'll be in Coquille. We're going to be in Lakeside. We're going to be in Myrtle Point. I'm probably going to be at that spot next to Spruce Street. I think I'm going to shoot for that next week, but I don't know for sure. We're a little behind on getting this out there. It was a really wild week last week. Like I said, I felt like I was in a tumbling in a tumble in a dryer or something. It was just one of those where I was tumbling from one meeting, one event to another, and all we were doing the whole time was collecting signatures. So I got a little crazy. Sorry, I guess I didn't even show that comment there, Cheryl. This is the one where she says, will someone be here in Coquille? And so we're planning on being at all the cities, Lakeside, Coquille, Myrtle Point. And I went up to the state fair and I helped them collect signatures at the state fair. So it's not like I haven't been out there for a long time trying to promote this stuff, but we'll get to you, Cheryl. I promise we'll get to you. And just look at probably the Facebook page is the best place to get this stuff. And you know who else is probably be reporting this is Brandy Martindale. Look for her. I think she's going to run for office. I don't know what office she's going to run for, but I got a feeling. Peggy Rent says we voted for Kennard too. Yeah, Kennard was a good guy. He's still a good guy, and he's still working for the sheriff's department. And once again, I hope I wasn't too offensive at the last Republican meeting, so his wife never allows him to. You can never go to the Republican meetings because that Rob Taylor is there. That Rob Taylor with his foul mouth yelling at senators. I can't really blame her. She was right. I was yelling at senators. I was telling David Brock Smith, I hope he choked on his chicken. I was telling Court Boyce to go F himself. And boy, I did it in a very colorful, flavorful way. I mean, you know, when I let the derogatory terms fly, I let them go, man. And so the pejoratives were flying. And that's just the way I roll sometimes. I'm a Yankee, you know, my uncles were truck drivers. What can I tell you? I come by it honestly. And thank you for watching, Peggy. I appreciate it. Thank all of you for tuning in. We're going to have a really cool Friday night rant. I've got a special guest on there. I think I'm going to have the guy who's the owner of Orco Gunworks on the Friday night rant. He sent me a message. I got to call him. Says he want to be on the show. Maybe I'll call Rob from Base and Tackle. That'd be cool to have Rob from Base and Tackle and the guy from Orco Gun Shops on here. Yeah, that would be cool. We could talk about guns. We can make it a whole shop show on the Friday night rant while we're ranting. I like that. Cheryl says, yep, Brandy Martindale is my go-to gal. Yeah, Brandy Martindale's pretty damn cool. And I want to thank you all. See you on Friday. And until the next time we meet, carry on, Coos County. Carry on. See, I wasn't fast enough with the music. It would have been cool if I would have been doing that faster. Okay, here it is.